Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you about 4 different ways that you can practice speaking in your target language. So number 1 on my list is to speak to yourself or to record your own voice, either on audio or on video. Now I did 2 videos about this, so you can check that out if you want, but I think it's when you first start learning a language, it's quite hard to speak to other people directly. So I would always start with just speaking to yourself, seeing if you can actually have a conversation with yourself before you actually talk to someone else. So then when you actually go to talk to someone else, you're like, right, I know how to say this. Also, it's really useful to learn how to say things that you're really commonly going to use when you're speaking to other people. So things like, where are you from? Or I'm from wherever, I am, whatever. Yeah, but I would say speaking to yourself is quite useful because it can be daunting speaking in a completely different language to someone else. My second tip is reading out loud in your target language. So if you're reading a magazine or a book or from an article or anything, it's most likely going to have exactly the right grammar, the right accents, everything's going to be correct. So you're going to be speaking and you're going to be saying the right things, so you don't actually have fear of making mistakes. This can be useful for practicing speaking, but also for your pronunciation. Even if you read out loud with someone listening to you, they can correct your pronunciation. But this video is about speaking, not about pronunciation. So yeah, my third tip is actually something that I do quite a lot, and it's singing in the language that you're learning. So obviously you have to listen to music in whatever your target language is, Spanish, French, Chinese, whatever. But I like to sing in Spanish sometimes. Actually, in general, I sing all the time, even in English. But sometimes I do sing in French and Spanish, and I feel like it's easier for me to sing in French than it is to speak French. Because there's like a few French songs that I actually really like, and they're slow enough that I've picked up the words and I can actually sing them. It's so helpful to do this, and if you already love singing, then you might as well do it in a different language. And my last tip is obviously to speak to a native speaker or to speak with language partners. What I actually do with my friend, who I would say has the same level of Spanish as me, we sometimes talk in Spanish on the way home because we go to the same uni and we commute home. So that's a really good way of practicing as well. Also, it's not as scary because I know that she's not going to judge me for my mistakes, because we both make mistakes and then we forget how to say something, then we look it up, and it's just really, really useful. Also, a few times we've been speaking in Spanish and people just stare at us on the train, so just be prepared for that if you're surrounded by probably people who only speak English. But yeah, that can actually be quite a fun way to practice. That can be a good way to practice because you're not actually speaking to someone who is a pro in the language, who's an expert. So I would say that's a good way to do it as well. But you can also, if you can talk to someone in real life who speaks that language, it's really good. But then you can also do like finding people online. There's so many people online that want to practice their languages. But I know it can be hard sometimes to find native speakers, or to find people who you can practice language with, basically. Just to summarise it, my tips are: number 1, speak to yourself or record yourself. Number 2 is reading out loud. Number 3 is singing in the language. And number 4 is speaking to your friend who's also studying that language, or speaking to a native speaker. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you on the next one. Ciao!